Hello and welcome to another Atypical Philosopher video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pierce. Really quick update now because actually there has been a significant event taking place in the Oskil River region. So I have been giving you updates on a daily basis for what has been taking place in Liman, sorry. And this is, so here's the Oskil River down here, just to remind those. You got the Sevastopol Donetsk River going along here with Severodonetsk, Rubizhne, Lysychansk, and Kreminna all in a row here. And this Liman town has been the focus of much attention, and there has been a pocket of Russian resistance as the town has been gradually encircled. So here is a zoom in using Warmapper map. The Oskil River coming down here with a railway line, as well as a railway line coming through from Kupiansk across to Svatove, down to Kreminna. This is a very important logistical highway here, both in terms of the road and the rail. And Liman has been a really important logistical hub as well, but this is all sort of broken up with what Ukraine have done over the recent few weeks. Now that the Russians have been encircled more and more gradually, it's just turned out that Liman has fallen. So this was a map I've been showing you over the last few days with the incremental gains that the Ukrainians have made, moving eventually to surround Liman totally, and Zarichne and Torsk being two little sort of village towns that have held out such that there is a highway in and out of Liman. There is reason to believe that there's about 5,000 troops, so some of the latest estimates say, in the Liman area. But the question is, what's going to happen to them? Russia have announced that they've pulled the troops out. Okay, so Russia's saying we've pulled out from the encircled town of Liman. That's not immediately true, and it's far more likely that that's not happened, because getting 5,000 people suddenly out of there, without any problem is just unrealistic. It's often better to disbelieve what the Russians say. So this very tight neck here, and the road out of Liman to Kreminna is under fire control, and I talked about how special forces are operating this side of the river. Tierney swapped hands. It was liberated by the Ukrainians and is now back in Russian hands. I don't know what the latest is there. It's all pretty dynamic. There's not a lot of information coming out. It's coming out in bits and pieces. Just to give you an idea of this area, so we've got Kharkiv, the second city of Ukraine, the Russian border here, and the Oskil River coming down here. So let's zoom in. The Oskil, Liman, Severodonetsk, Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, also important logistical and industrial hubs, and Svatove. The question is, what's going to happen if Liman falls? Are they going to push for Svatove? In fact, something to tell you is that Svatove has been under HIMARS attacks. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a second. Just because someone said, look, can you show the terrain maps more? Here is the terrain. The reason I don't really show the terrain maps is they can get a little bit, I don't know, that the reality is that most of this is agricultural land, particularly directly around Liman, apart from the forest areas. The forest areas have been used to great success by the Ukrainians, and here is a general map. So here we have Ukrainian police returning to the main police precincts in reclaimed Liman. And taking off the Russian terror Russian sign that they had put up there. So here is pretty good evidence that Liman is being liberated. Victory dances. You've got people putting up the flag at the entrance to Liman. So I'll just find that in 2 ticks. So here it is. Here is the flag being hoisted around Liman, and he's basically saying, we've just, got to Liman and whatnot. I have seen the transcription of what he says. That is all looking very much like Liman has fallen or been liberated by the Ukrainians, which is fantastic news for those who are in support of Ukraine. The question is, what's going to happen to these troops? Are Ukraine going to let them retreat? Are they going to capture them? Are they going to basically liquidate them, take them out completely? Who knows? This is obviously going to be a hugely dynamic, situation. And if there are 5,000 troops there, and those 5,000 troops are either captured or killed, then that is a massive loss. Not just in terms of boots on the ground, but the material that they would be, holding there. So tanks, APCs, IFVs, armored personnel carriers, infantry fighting vehicles, any other kind of command and control vehicles, all sorts of equipment that will be captured here. 5,000 troops is a massive number of troops. This will be a huge loss, and it's interesting that so New York Times here that the Moscow only really admitted this after the Ukraine Ministry of Defense posted a video showing soldiers unfurling a yellow and blue flag at the city's limits. That's the one I just showed you. This is a massive loss and an embarrassment for Russia, who have just partied on saying that we've annexed these 4 areas, and one of the towns in these 4 areas has now just fallen. It's not a good look. I'm going to just read you this and this comes from Ukraine volunteer transcript. So this is someone back, I think, in the States, who says, I'm in contact with this American serving as a volunteer, and I transcribe messages that he says. I lightly edit them a little bit for typos and spelling errors and whatnot, but this is basically communications. The way I understand it, communication between me and him over in Ukraine. Now, this, I think, was a day ago. This was September the 30th. This is actually came out. So he said, move north. It's a slaughter. Cut them off west of Kreminna. Okay. And again, this could be propaganda. This could not be true. But on the other hand, it could well be true. So west of Kreminna, here's Liman. And of course, escaping out on that road is to escape to Kreminna. That's your next place. And this is a day ago saying that they were absolutely hammering Russians, one would think, escaping already from Liman, and hammering them from this position as they move towards Kreminna. So this is the terrain, largely forested, that the Ukrainians hold, and where they can just pop at this road, which had a convoy, I showed yesterday, a convoy of Russian vehicles trying to escape. So I'm just going to continue. Stay safe. Liman totally cut off? I think so. Engaging those going east. Okay, talk to you on the other side. So this is what he says later on 10:19 p.m. Sorry. This is San Francisco is his name, I believe, or someone was saying that. No, that might not be that. That could be someone telling me that incorrectly. This could be the person who's speaking to him is in San Francisco, and the other person is in eastern Ukraine. So I do apologize. So only a few minutes here. Ran out of ammo and backed off south. I'm a bit traumatized and need some sleep. I have no idea what is going on, except we engaged a lot of elements headed to Kreminna. They have to be coming from Liman and Zarishne. So Zarishne, just to let you know, remind you, is that place there. Right now, we are in a safe area, it seems. I have never seen so many dead, soon to be dead, and wounded people in my life. People begging for help, but no way we can help them. We have little to help them with, a small medical kit each, no morphine, and no time to render any kind of useful aid. No idea if they will live or die. You just keep moving. One guy, and these are Russians he's talking about, one guy had obviously stepped on a mine by the side of the road. One leg was gone at mid-thigh, the other one was broken lower down, and his foot was backward. He was trying to crawl somewhere on one good knee, trailing flowing blood and out of a busted artery. Unless he got help quick, he was gone. He was talking calmly in Russian, saying over and over, I will be home soon, mother. Christ. And you and your guys okay? So this is a guy back in the States. Yeah, just tired and mentally warped. At one point, we were running down the side of the road and slipped in a pool of blood running into the ditch from a still living Russian laying across the stripe, which is dead people. Don't bleed very fast, only gravity feed. And he slid onto the shoulder and got up, cussing with blood all over him. Get me some water. This effing sea probably has some kind of fulminating disease. We almost fell over laughing. Are we talking hundreds? Were they on foot or in vehicles? There's a video on Twitter somewhere, purportedly from West Kremina, actually just audio, non-stop gunfire. He replies, lots, just us, maybe 140 dead Russians, like hunting squirrels in a pecan orchard. I have to think Liman is under our control, but we have no info on that, and obviously it is now. We all got split up into smaller groups, too much contact going on to stay together. Here with about 20 guys trying to make contact with someone to get ammo. A lot of people on foot, some running down the road, some trying to make their way through the forest to the south of the road. A dozen Russians came into the woods where we were in a hide to catch our breath and eat. They almost ran into us, but as usual, they were moving fast and talking. We cut them down before they knew what was happening. I mean, this is obviously terrible. Like, this is the reality of war. They had little ammo, no medkits, very little food, and no info at all on them except for their phones and some family stuff. Trying to get intel off stiffs here is a very disappointing exercise. I can't imagine. The road has been mined by artillery laydown, not all that accurate, but accurate enough to create bottlenecks, which creates a free fire zone. So I told you about this the other day, that in fact, more often than not, mines are used not to actually blow things up, but to stop people, to slow them down or to make them go another route. So if they're saying they're lined with mines, then obviously that means it's very slow going, and that means that those troops are easy to pick off from the sides. So mines aren't necessarily used to kill people outright, but to cause other problems themselves. Creates a free fire zone. When you engage a vehicle, then seem to unass it in place and head for the fields or the forest. So they're hitting these vehicles and then heading back, and then hitting these vehicles, so on and so forth. So, it's quite interesting. I came away shaking like a leaf, not scared, just wired and sick of killing people. On the way back, got in a stream and washed off and vomited his guts out. So this is, I was looking at his eyes and he was seeing things way back home. So he's obviously talking about someone else that he's seeing there. Just, this is war, and it's terrible. But anyway, that's an interesting transcript to give you an idea of sort of what's going on the ground with some of these troops, with these fleeing Russians. The losses are going to be catastrophic, and one would assume an awful lot of POWs captured as well. We will find out in the coming time. One thing I'm going to add, and this is literally just out, so this is from 10 minutes ago, and we are now seeing Sevastopol, which, to remind those who don't know, Sevastopol is the naval ports down in Crimea. So this is Russian-occupied Crimea, and Sevastopol has been hit a couple of times, and there's been an airport of Saki that was hit as well in Crimea. So Crimea is in range, and this looks like a pretty devastating hit on an airport in Sevastopol. And that is, that's almost live, that feed. That's 10 minutes ago. And again, it's all over at the moment. This is a Kiev Independent reporting out. According to the Russian-appointed head of occupied Sevastopol, an emergency situation occurred at the Belbek Airfield. The Belbek military airfield is located near occupied Sevastopol. So that has been hit. Who knows how and what with? But yes, that has been hit pretty badly, and that looks promising for the Ukrainians. Okay, final thing, I promise, because this is kind of relevant for Liman. So just to remind you of the geography again, Liman is here, down here, and Svatove is up here. So this is a very important rail hub, but that railway is basically unusable because it goes through Kupiansk, which is now under Ukrainian control. But there's still road networks coming down to feed Kremina. If you can't come down through here, then you have to go a really long way around here, both by rail and vehicle. And it's not easy. So this is really important. So for Liman to fall is bad, but if Svatove is to fall, then they're in trouble in the Luhansk region. Well, why am I telling you this? Because it turns out that the HIMARS, or maybe MLRS, which are multiple rocket launchers similar to HIMARS, have been hitting very particular places around Svatove. So last week, the Ukrainian forces started an unprecedented HIMARS campaign on the supply hub of Svatove. In 2 days, at least 5 separate targets were hit in and around Svatove. This town was a supply hub for the Liman and Kupiansk front. One strike took out the command of the 144th Regiment. And then, in addition to this strike, which was a blow to the combat effectiveness of the 144th Regiment, four other supply areas were hit. Two of those were located in Svatove itself, and two north and south of the town. So I saw this on Twitter the other day, but I wasn't quite sure, exactly what's going on. This is clarifying it. That you've basically had some badly hit supply depots in and around Svatove. So east of the town, some farm complex which is being used has been hit with the roof being collapsed. Third location located in an industrial area to the east of Svatove. Four large buildings, entry points of the projectiles can be seen on the rooftops, and parts of the roof collapsed again. And then south, and so on and so forth. And this gives all the details here. All in all, very successful campaign, destroying not only supply capability of the Russian forces, but also effectively destroying command and control capabilities of the enemy before launching the offensive in Liman and Kupiansk areas. In other words, these are serious hits to the capabilities of the Russians, because they would likely supply areas or be able to command and control, the goings on in Kupiansk or perhaps Liman from around Svatove, at least the actions of the 144th Regiment, and that has been hit whilst all this is going on. So these are often things you don't hear about, which are the HIMARS or other rocket launchers doing their stuff, taking out things all the time. Literally every day, the HIMARS are being used to their maximum capability, because, and this is something else I have time to tell you. Basically, there's a really interesting analysis from a Wall Street Journal reporter. I'll probably play it in the next one because this is going to be really quick. It was supposed to be, but saying that HIMARS are basically doing 70% of their sort of range capabilities in terms of, they are just being massively effective and they're real game changers. And it was a video that he got, the journalist got to walk around some of the HIMARS equipment and was talking about how very important they are. So yeah, and I did say there are a load more HIMARS on the way, but that's up to 2 years in the waiting for them. So unfortunately, they are not from existing stocks, but from stocks that are yet to be built. And there's lots of evidence to suggest that is the case. I know someone called into question my claim there, but loads of media reporting, Defense Post, for example, reporting that they are clearly not or very explicitly not from existing stocks. So although I said, hey, it's great they're going to get more HIMARS, it's not so useful if it's 2 years down the line. There are medium and long-term strategies going on in terms of how to support Ukraine, and not everything's about now. There's a thought that this is a long-term war, and therefore we have to sustainably support them in the long term. Anyway, there you go. Liman has fallen, and that is a really great benefit for the Ukrainians. The question is, what happens to all these troops and all the equipment in the coming sort of 10 hours and into tomorrow? Of course, in Ukraine at the moment, they are ahead of my time in the UK, so it'll be dark here now, and that'll be the end of the fighting, broadly speaking, or at least the main sort of fighting. But who knows? There could be floods of Russians trying to make it through the night back to Kremina. Then what will happen? Are we likely to see a line down this river from Svatove to Kremina? Are we going to see the Ukrainians immediately try and move on Svatove and join up the Kupiansk bridgehead to the sort of Liman bridgehead? And have a front coming all the way down here, or are we going to see mobilized troops come to sort of support Svatove and maybe just see a large front, maybe defended here by the Ukrainians, depending on whether it's an offensive force coming in to support the Russians, or whether that's enough or not enough. These are all open questions, and we'll see in the coming days. But if you stick by my channel, I'll let you know what's going on. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for all your support. Please like, subscribe, share, join, or thank in any other way. All the descriptions, all the information is in the description down there. Toodle pips, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.